he might be one of these kind of streaky hitters who's going to go through a period. We've even seen sometime or early in this spring where he's struggling, he's striking out a lot, but the next game, he's got a couple extra base hits, he's got a couple home runs, and he's just a really dynamic, exciting player.
Okay, Rays fans, is Carson Williams the next big thing? Let's hit a prospect profile. Scott Braun, Carlos Collazo, and Ben Badler, you kick this off. Carson Williams, when do you think he will be in the show for the Rays, and how good do you think he could be?
I think the bat is still going to need a little bit more time, probably maybe another year, maybe not. The defense, though, is ready now. I mean, he's a well above average defender at shortstop. He's arguably the best defensive shortstop in the minor leagues. He's quick. He's light on his feet. Hands are soft, secure. He has a nose for the ball at shortstop. He can finish plays with a plus arm. Everything you want to see in a young shortstop defensively, he has. So whether it's making the routine play or the more flashy acrobatic play, it doesn't matter. He seems to do it all defensively. If he's good enough offensively to hold down an everyday role in the big leagues, he has the potential to be a Gold Glove winner. But that last part is really the key. And there are some red flags there still, particularly if we're going to pick apart a player who we do have ranked really high on our top 100. The main thing for me is the swing and miss. He struck out 29% of the time last year. He was 21 years old in Double-A, right? And he does have power. He could hit 20-plus home runs. So this is not like your old school shortstop who can really pick it, but is a slappy, light-hitting offensive player who doesn't do any damage. He can impact the baseball. The key is just going to be how often does he put the bat on the ball, because there is some risk that if he isn't able to cut down on that swing and miss, that could eat away at his offensive value. But if he's able to keep the strikeouts to just a manageable level, he does have power to go with it, and he's giving you that elite defense at a premium position too.
Yeah, I'm really bullish on this profile overall. Ben nails it that the swing and miss is obviously the big question mark for him. But I wonder if he can still be a productive offensive player in the near future, even with that swing and miss, because he does have pretty exceptional power. He consistently gets to double-digit home runs. He misses a lot on breaking balls. I think that pitch type specifically is one we'd like to see a little bit more contact against. But when he damages and connects on breaking balls, he's still hitting those pitches with authority. I don't think you're looking at Carson as a guy who's kind of in the middle of your lineup and the heavy hitter in your lineup. But if you're not relying on him to be that sort of hitter, I think he's going to add enough value in every other area of the game to where you can kind of live with the lower batting average and a little bit more strikeouts. Because throughout his minor league career, while he has struggled with the swing and miss, he's consistently walked at a pretty impressive rate. It's a 10% or greater walk rate for him. He steals a lot of bases. He's a good runner. We've kind of danced around it here, but Ben did mention it. He's a potential Gold Glove winner. If you're a shortstop who's one of the best defensive players in the league, you have power, you have speed, I don't necessarily think you need to be an average or even below average pure hitter to still provide a lot of value. He's young enough and he has enough bat speed, and you can still dream on him making some improvements, and maybe in his peak years, everything comes together brilliantly. But I think he might be one of these kind of streaky hitters who's going to go through a period. We've even seen sometime or early in this spring where he's struggling, he's striking out a lot, but the next game, he's got a couple extra base hits, he's got a couple home runs, and he's just a really dynamic, exciting player.
Ben, something else I want to bring up that relates to the Rays and the call-up timing. This is sneaky. I don't see this often, but I know it's a thing. The Rays are a bit of the anti-Angels in terms of how they make their decisions to call players up. I see you both shaking your head, so good. I'm glad I'm not coming out of left field here. But you do often see guys marinate for quite some time. Not everybody, but there are quite a few players that do take their time down in the minor leagues. You would think maybe the Rays would rush players or getting a guy up and trying to get as much of his peak value as possible at a low price, but maybe you're actually letting him season a little bit more. So you're capturing those best years during the time period that the Rays are going to have most players, because of course, most of them are going to move on to greener pastures if they become stars, unless they lock them up. Ben, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. They like to give their players pretty significant AAA time in a lot of cases. And with Carson Williams' case, I think it probably needs some AAA time, right? After how much he swung and missed last year. Again, very good prospect, but I don't think he's a ready-made hitter right now. Defensively, yeah, absolutely, he's ready right now to play at shortstop. But offensively, yeah, I think he's somebody who could use more time. And you're right, I think the Rays like to keep their players in AAA a little bit longer because they might only be there 4 or 5 years when they're under team control, and they'd probably rather have those 4 or 5 years be tilted toward the players mid to late 20s during their typical prime years, as opposed to bringing them up early. And if they struggle, then all right, well, the clock has already started to tick on when they're realistically, just the way they operate, going to be able to keep those players.
Another interesting piece with Carson is just the two-way status that he has as a prospect. Coming out of high school, there are a lot of scouts early in the process who actually preferred him as a pitcher. He's had big arm strength for a long time now. And so if you think about him as maybe a prospect who needs a little bit more seasoning as a hitter, I think that makes sense because even when he was in high school and a standout prospect, he was not solely focused on hitting full time. We've heard from some scouts who look at Carson and think of him as maybe like a more projectable bat than you would typically have for a prospect of his status at this age. And I think that two-way background is a really interesting piece of this. I know a lot of teams really love to draft two-way players in particular because they dream on the upside that can come once you actually focus on just playing on one side of the ball. And we've seen that repeatedly with a number of different prospects. Maybe Carson Williams is kind of the latest in that area. But in terms of like the swing itself, the bat speed, I think there are a lot of ingredients to like, and I'm confident he's going to get there. We have him as a top-ranked shortstop in the minors for a reason.
All right, let's finish with this, Ben, the global approach of the Rays farm system right now. Thoughts, because this team, really needs to be able to keep that system tight for them to compete. It's not just the payroll restrictions. Let's be real. The American League East is just a pain to be a part of on a yearly basis when they're going up against some bigger payrolls, especially if the Red Sox, start spending more like they did a little bit this offseason, in addition to the talent that they have. Of course, the Yankees are the Yankees. So where do you think the Rays are at coming off of, a little sell-off last July?
Yeah, and the Red Sox also have the best farm system in baseball right now. So they're up against a lot, but, it's still a pretty good farm system. I don't think it's the elite farm system we've seen in other recent years where we've had them, top 3, 4, 5 farm system in baseball, but there's still talent there. Braden Taylor, kind of a, maybe not the sexiest profile, but a guy who can do a little bit of everything. Xavier Isaac has monster raw power at first base. Trey Morgan is like another first base prospect who's kind of the opposite of Xavier Isaac in terms of what he can do in terms of putting the bat to the ball defensively. Chandler Simpson is one of the fastest human beings on the planet, makes a ton of contact. So there's a lot of talent still throughout the farm system. But yeah, it's tough when you're comparing them against the Red Sox right now, who obviously have much higher revenue, much higher payroll, and a better farm system right now too.
Yeah, the competition's fierce in that division. Yeah, especially with Boston right now and what they've got coming up through the farm system. If you like what you were watching or listening to and you want to learn about the rest of the division, you can do that. Just make sure you check out the YouTube channel for Baseball America if you're listening. And if you're watching, also make sure you can take us on the go. Just type in Baseball America wherever you get your podcasts for more prospect profiles.